over TMC decision to abstain from vice presidential polls. Left and Congress launch massive attack. Say abstentionism equals support to the BJP. After big win for NDA candidate in presidential polls, now opposition clearly split over vice presidential elections. So massive furor over the TMC abstaining from the vice presidential elections. The TMC earlier in the day miffed over not being consulted over vice presidential candidate of the opposition, had said that it would not be participating in the elections. Joining us is Kishle. Kishle, the TMC voicing its decision, but a massive furor erupting over it now. The left and the Congress saying that it's equal to siding with the BJP.
Yes, Rukma, exactly. Since yesterday, this big development we are keeping a track on. After 21st July rally that happened yesterday, Abhishek Banerjee and other MPs of Trinamool Congress, all the member of parliaments had a meeting, and where Mamata Banerjee was present as well, and they decided after the meeting there was a press conference, and Abhishek Banerjee said that they have decided to abstain from this vice presidential election. What happened after that was there was scathing attack from both Congress and the CPIM, or Communist Party of India in West Bengal. Congress president here, Adhir Chaudhary, said that it is actually proving that how Trinamool Congress is up in arms with the BJP, and they have a secret deal here in West Bengal where Mamata Banerjee has actually decided to support Jagdeep Dhankar while abstaining from the voting process, and also the CPIM has tweeted about the same. So just after the decision has been taken, just after that press conference of Abhishek Banerjee which happened yesterday evening, where he said that because they were not consulted about the vice presidential candidate, they have decided to abstain. Both CPIM and Congress, which were trying to in a way form an ally against BJP in this state and nationally, along with Trinamool Congress, they started scathingly attacking Trinamool Congress and accusing Trinamool Congress of having a secret deal with BJP so that Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar can be elected as a Vice President. Rukma.
Right. Kishle, so what is the message that insiders say TMC Supremo Mamata Banerjee is giving out? Although there is a furor, the Congress and the left saying that she is siding with the BJP. What is the truth? What are insiders saying? Is she basically saying that if there is to be an opposition alliance, she will be a leader? Is that one of the messages that she's sending out?
Exactly, Rukma. We saw that how before the presidential election there was a endeavor of forming an opposition alliance, and Mamata Banerjee herself went to Delhi. She went and there were several meetings, and Sharad Pawar was there in the meeting, Mamata Banerjee was there in the meeting, several other opposition parties were there in the meeting. They were trying to come to a conclusion about bringing up a candidate who will be elected anonymously as the vice president, as the presidential as the person who will be supported by all the opposition members of opposition parties in the presidential election. But that could not happen so easily. That was not very smooth. Now we see during the vice presidential election, things have fallen far from that place, and now Mamata Banerjee in a way is giving a stern message, as you just rightly said, that if the Trinamool Congress or Mamata Banerjee won't be brought into that discussion, if they won't be considered in that discussion before any decision that the opposition parties are taking, then she will be abstaining. She will be keeping herself away from that decision. And that's what happened when we saw that the opposition parties decided that the vice presidential candidate will be Margaret Alva, and after that decision came, Mamata Banerjee clearly distances herself from that decision, and we are getting to know from our sources that about 85% of the Trinamool MPs who were present in that meeting yesterday, they requested Mamata Banerjee, and she herself agreed that they will abstain from this vice presidential election because they were not considered and discussions were not done with them. But insiders, we are getting information from our sources, insiders are saying that there can be further political considerations behind this decision, especially when we saw that when Jagdeep Dhankar was here in West Bengal as Rajyapal, he was here, and there was a constant as the governor, there was a constant exchange of words between Mamata Banerjee and Jagdeep Dhankar in their tweets, and they were up in arms against each other. But right now we see that Mamata Banerjee is in a way kind of abstaining from that election, and the opposition is alleging that Mamata Banerjee is in a way supporting Jagdeep Dhankar and BJP, and there is a secret deal between them.
Right. Right, Kishale, many thanks for joining us there and for your input. So Mamata Banerjee coming up for criticism even as the TMC, after that massive rally yesterday, what it calls the martyrs, the celebration and observance held in memory of martyrs in Kolkata, have declared that they will abstain from the vice presidential elections, not supporting vice presidential candidate Margaret Alva.
बीजेपी को सपोर्ट कर रही है और उमर अब्दुल्ला की तरफ से भी ये बयान आया है कि अपोजिशन जो है वो यूनाइट नहीं हो रही है, हर एक पार्टी सिर्फ अपना फ़ायदा देख रही है। मेरे साथ शेख बशीर मौजूद हैं, प्रोविंशियल सेक्रेटरी नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस। बशीर साहब, किस तरह देखते हैं टीएमसी पे लगातार सीपीआईएम ने टारगेट किया, उमर साहब ने भी ये कहा कि हर एक जो है अपना बेनिफिट देख रहा है?
ऐसा है कि जब प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया का चुनाव हुआ तो आपको याद होगा कि अपोजिशन ने इकट्ठी होके पहले फ़ारूक साहब का नाम तजवीज़ किया और फ़ारूक साहब ने कहा कि मैं स्टेट के अंदर, जम्मू कश्मीर के अंदर अभी मेरी ज़रूरत है, मैं उनकी खिदमत करना चाहता हूँ। और प्रेसिडेंट बन के जो उनका सुझाव था, उन्होंने कहा यह मुमकिन नहीं है। इसी तरह उस वक़्त लगता था कि अपोजिशन जो है वो इकट्ठी होके इस चीज़ का, हार जीत चलती रहती है। सबको मालूम है कि इस वक्त बीजेपी के पास एब्सोल्यूट मेजॉरिटी है, सबको मालूम है कि बीजेपी दनदना रही है, ताकत के नशे में हर एक चीज़ काम कर रही है, तो सबको मालूम था। फिर उसके बाद यशवंत सिन्हा साहब और मुर्मू साहब का मुकाबला हुआ और कल रिज़ल्ट आया। भारत की खूबसूरती यही है कि यहाँ डेमोक्रेटिक फ़ैसले होते हैं, कम हो या ज़्यादा हो, अब फैसला हो गया। जो हैं द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी जो हैं वो प्रेसिडेंट बन गई। लेकिन ये जो अब्सटेन करने का फ़ैसला है, ये मुझे लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं रीजनल पार्टीज़ जो हैं वो दबाव में आ रही हैं और बीजेपी भी रीजनल पार्टीज़ को दबाने की पूरी कोशिश कर रही है। अब देखना है कि जब समंदर में कोई चला जाता है और छोटी मछली खा के बड़ी मछली गुजारा करती है, अब देखना है छोटी मछली में कितना दम है कि कितने अरसे वो समंदर के अंदर रह के अपने आप को बचा पाती है। इसी तरह अब्सटेन करना भी बिल्कुल मान के चलते हैं कि कहीं ना कहीं उसका फ़ायदा बीजेपी को होगा। बहरहाल वो पॉलिटिक्स किस वक्त क्या काम करती है, लेकिन मैं ये समझता हूँ कि अपोजिशन को इकट्ठे होके एक जंग लड़नी चाहिए। वक्त आने पे लोग इसको महसूस कर रहे हैं। लोगों ने मैसेज मैंडेट दे दिया बीजेपी को 2014 में और 2022 जा रहा है और लोग समझ रहे हैं कि उनको धोखा हो रहा है। आज छोटी सी छोटी चीज़ को भी टैक्स किया जा रहा है, आटे को, दूध को, मक्खन को, जो भी चीज़ें हैं उनके ऊपर टैक्स करके, फिर भी हमारी इकॉनमी जो है वो कहीं स्टेबल नहीं है। तो लगता है कि हम ड्रिफ्ट कर रहे हैं टुवर्ड्स श्रीलंका, उसकी इकॉनमी की तरफ ना चले जाएं, रब बचाए। तो इसलिए अपोजिशन को मिल के काम करना चाहिए और जो उनकी लोगों की जो नज़रें वो अपोजिशन पे लगे हैं, चाहे वो छोटी अपोजिशन है, बड़ी है, रीजनल पार्टीज़ हैं, और ये भी हकीकत है कि रीजनल पार्टीज़ की कुछ
And moving on in this same news, the Trinamool Congress has announced its decision not to take part in the vice presidential polls, stating that it had not been consulted for the opposition's vice presidential choice. The party would not be supporting Margaret Alva or Jagdeep Dhankar. The party is known to have been at odds with as a result.
Even as the results for the presidential polls were pending, Mamata Banerjee and the TMC were on a warpath for 2024 elections while celebrating Shahid Divas.
2021 में जो मैंडेट हमारा मिला और जनता को हम सैल्यूट देने चाहूंगी, हम अभिनंदन करने चाहूंगी, हम सलाम करने चाहूंगी, अरे बार बार कहने चाहूंगी, वर्कर ही हमारा संपद है, सबसे बड़ा एसेट है। तृणमूल कांग्रेस वर्कर जितना दिन जिंदा रहेगा आप कुछ नहीं कर सकता है।
In a shocking presser, Abhishek Banerjee announced that the TMC would abstain from voting in the vice presidential elections just days after Sharad Pawar claimed that Mamata Banerjee was unreachable.
We are also trying to contact Mamata ji. She was leading some conference, so our contact is not established.
The way the opposition candidate was decided without proper consultation and deliberation with a party which has 35 MPs in both the houses, we have decided unanimously to abstain from the voting process.
Towards evening, as it became clear that Draupadi Murmu would win as President of India and defeat Yashwant Sinha of the opposition hands down, reports came in that the Trinamool Congress has decided that it would abstain from voting in the Vice President's poll that happens on August 6. In fact, while the BJP-led NDA has zeroed down on former Bengal Governor Jagdeep Dhankar as its candidate, the opposition struggled and then finally pulled out Margaret Alva as their candidate.
The announcement coming days after Mamata Banerjee was seen at a courtesy meet with NDA's vice presidential candidate Jagdeep Dhankar and Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma in Darjeeling. The opposition was already raising questions about the meeting. Now Omar Abdullah has joined the chorus to raise questions on opposition unity ahead of 2024 elections. Between presidential polls and vice presidential polls, the difference is clear. Mamata Banerjee, who was leading the press conference during presidential poll discussions, was missing in action and even skipped the vice presidential meet. When NDA is projected to have a comfortable victory, will the TMC's abstention only better the chances?
Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde and Deputy CM Fadnavis to meet top brass in Delhi today to discuss cabinet expansion in Maharashtra. All the news on that coming up in a short while.